It was a freezing winter evening in Moscow. The streets were blanketed in thick snow, and the city's bright lights reflected off the icy sidewalks. Despite the festive decorations of the approaching New Year, the atmosphere was heavy with the biting cold. Amidst the bustling streets, where people hurried home wrapped in thick coats and scarves, a small boy walked alone. His clothes were thin, his shoes worn out, and his tiny hands trembled from the cold. He was no older than 8, with hollow cheeks and sad eyes that spoke of hardships far beyond his years. Sergey had nowhere to go. He was an orphan. His parents had died in an accident years ago, and though he had lived in a state-run orphanage, a bureaucratic error had forced him out. Now he wandered through the streets, searching for warmth, searching for hope. But the city was indifferent to his suffering. No one noticed him. No one cared. Until one man did. Inside a long convoy of black luxury cars, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, was returning from an official engagement. Dressed in a long, dark overcoat, he sat quietly in the back of his armored vehicle, looking out at the snowy streets of Moscow. The city had changed so much under his leadership, but that night, something caught his attention, a tiny figure, struggling through the harsh winter wind. A boy, alone, freezing, desperate. Putin's gaze sharpened. He had always been known as a man of action, a leader who made swift decisions. And that night was no different. "Stop the car." The command was firm, unexpected. His security team exchanged nervous glances. Stopping in an open area without prior planning was a serious security risk. But Putin repeated himself, this time even more determined. Now. The convoy came to a halt, and the quiet hum of the city filled the sudden silence. Putin stepped out into the cold. His presence alone was imposing, tall, broad-shouldered, his sharp blue eyes scanning the surroundings. The freezing air didn't seem to bother him as he approached the boy, who had stopped in his tracks, staring up at him in fear and confusion. The bodyguard stood close, watching carefully, but Putin held up a hand, signaling them to stay back. He crouched down so that he was at eye level with the child. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The boy hesitated. His lips were cracked from the cold, and his small body shook with every gust of wind. Finally, he whispered, "Sergey." Putin studied him carefully. The oversized tattered jacket, the too thin clothes, the weary sadness in his eyes that no child should ever have to carry. "Where are your parents?" Sergey's gaze dropped to the snowy ground. "Gone," he mumbled. "I was in the orphanage, but they sent me away." Silence hung between them. The city around them moved on, cars rushing past, pedestrians continuing their evening without a second glance. But for Putin, everything had stopped. At that moment, Putin made a decision not as a president, but as a human being. He straightened up and turned to his security detail. "Get him in the car. Make sure he is warm. Contact the Minister of Social Affairs. I want a full report on this orphanage by morning." His guards nodded, springing into action, but Putin wasn't finished. He took off his own thick scarf and wrapped it around Sergey's neck. "We're going to fix this." That night, Sergey wasn't left alone on the freezing streets. Instead, he was taken to one of Moscow's best shelters, where he was given warm food, fresh clothes, and a bed that didn't feel like ice. The next morning, Putin followed through on his promise. Not only did he personally oversee Sergey's placement in a prestigious state-funded home, but he also established a new initiative to ensure no orphaned child in Russia would be left without a place to stay. Months passed, and Sergey flourished under the care he had received. For the first time in years, he had hope. He was able to attend school, play with other children, and dream of a future beyond just surviving. Years later, as a young adult, Sergey would stand before the Kremlin, preparing to meet the man who had changed his life forever. As he walked through the Grand Hall, now a well-educated, confident young man, Putin turned to face him. "I see you've grown strong," he said with a rare smile. Sergey swallowed hard, eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, sir. If it weren't for you, I don't know where I'd be." Putin simply nodded. "Because true leadership isn't just about power, it's about changing lives.